Stina and Stoney Nations. Okay, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I echo Philip's enthusiasm for this partnership. I was just saying before this call that there is nothing I love more than synergy in partnerships when they just manifest beautifully because the values are aligned. And I think this is a really great example of that. Our Pride. So this was one of the programs that we came up with last year. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like and a little bit of the sort of what that program looks like for businesses and organizations and what Calgary Pride offers to support these initiatives. And they're very community rooted, community based in theory and in practice. So I'm going to take a moment to introduce the team. I am Parker. I use they, them pronouns. I am the Director of Business Development. And I'll let Sumit and Hayden introduce themselves.
My name is Sumit. I use pronoun he, him, they, them. I'm the Manager of Production and Programming. On to you, Hayden.
And yeah, Hayden McHugh, and the Special Events Marketing Coordinator for this season of Calgary Pride.
We also have Hasina among us. Hasina, if you would like to introduce yourself.
I use the pronouns she, her, and I'm the Director of Organizational Change at Calgary Pride.
So your key points of contact through the program will obviously be Philip, but on the Calgary Pride side, Sumit and Hayden will be available, and I will definitely be available if needed. My role is pretty part-time, but within this program, it was one of the programs that I helped to initiate and lead last year. So I'm really, really excited to be able to see that happen again this year, and I will be supporting in the diversity training. So Pride Powered Business. So the whole idea behind Our Pride is to create collaboration between our organization and other values aligned businesses, which obviously Be Local is very much rooted in that. So we, in order to sort of advance our mission and vision of visibility and inclusion for the gender and sexually diverse communities here in Calgary, we really rely on our partnerships with community, with businesses, with volunteers, community members, broader public, ally, corporations. All Pride organizations are really rooted in those partners. We have the 4th largest parade and festival in Canada, and over the last 4 years, we've seen almost a 400% increase in operations. A lot of that just has to do with the fact that of the major cities in Canada, we have the space to continue to grow, whereas a lot of the other major prides are really struggling when it's an in-person event. And definitely, as we like to say, we don't pivot, we sachet, and that is exactly what we did last year, is we found sort of a creative way to meet the goals of our organization in connecting our community, connecting our allies and the broader public, inspiring empathy and igniting dialogue, which is really the foundation of all of our programming year round, with Reading with Royalty, Queerly Festive, as well as the Pride Celebration. So this is an example of what that partnership can do. So we had last year 61 hours of live streaming over 10 festival days on all of our social media platforms. 31,000 people tuned into that broadcasting. We had 60, at the time this slide was going to be at 60, but it's actually closer to 70 businesses that took part of Our Pride. We had 100 free online workshops speaking to a variety of intersections of our community. We had 2,400 volunteer hours, 231 LGBTQ2S+ artists and entertainers. We actually raised closer to $35,000 after the tally was done. And we had 1,800 workshop attendees from 3,500 registrants. So, I think we can all appreciate that, that there's lots that we want to engage in online. And so I think this really speaks to people's desire to want to engage and learn more. But as the pandemic unfolded, I think that, and schedules changed and priorities changed, it became challenging for folks to always access those. But we're excited to see that there's an interest there, because to us, that means that there's opportunity. When the pandemic first unfolded, we knew we couldn't do an in-person event. Our first question was, how can we meet the sort of the mandate of our organization and create those opportunities to connect, knowing that we couldn't have an in-person parade. And the one thing undeniably that every Pride organization has access to is the most powerful queer brand on the planet. If you ask any cis, straight, any individual, tell me about a queer organization, odds are gonna be good that they've heard about Pride. And so that has consistently been where we leverage change in public policy. So for example, banning of conversion therapy, it's where we leverage talking about various contributions or challenges, different intersections of our community face. And it's also what we knew we wanted to leverage with organizations and businesses to create opportunities that fell within the restrictions of Alberta Health Services, but also created those opportunities connect. And more importantly, we could leverage this to help those businesses on their journey to recovery. So social media analytics, we reach about, and this is just during Pride Week, so we reach about 1 million people. Our website saw 1.75 million people. Last year, we launched the app for the very first time, which was really, really monumentally important for the Our Pride businesses and our virtual marketplace, because people could go on the app and essentially curate their Pride Week experience, which included being able to identify what Our Pride initiatives or events were happening on what days in what parts of the city, and they could save that to their personal schedule. Event exposure. The media love us. We do have partnerships with all of the major media partners where we receive a tremendous amount of in-kind advertising. And so within this initiative, we wanted to really leverage the Our Pride programming within that and to sort of create some very specific visibility around businesses that do have those values aligned and that folks could engage and connect in a way that was safe. So last year during Pride Week, we reached 300 million people. And these are some of the different, oh, you probably can't see my mouse. Okay, well, there's listed the different folks that did pick us up. So for example, the one from Yahoo reached 42.2 million people. And we are doing actually, we are working with Shaw again, our friends at Shaw again this year to do another art walk at Memorial Park. Okay, so what is Our Pride? So essentially we had 70 organizations in total, and we raised about $30,000. The idea behind Our Pride is that a business or an organization hosts an event or an initiative during Pride Week that is within health and safety requirements and includes a fundraising component. In exchange for that, what we do is provide logistical support with our friend Hayden and Sumit taking the lead. We're able to provide volunteer support if desired. We offer a marketing toolkit. We leverage our media reach, both marketing online through social media as well as traditional media. And we provide diversity and inclusion training. So we're going to talk a little bit about what those things look like for you. So what are some of the different events and initiatives that we held last year? They generally fall into these 4 categories. You have event-based initiatives, you have product-based initiatives, service-based initiatives, and food-based initiatives. That being said, there were definitely initiatives that crossed over and used 2 or 3 or all 4 or 1. So it's really about identifying what is going to be the best possible. My recommendation, quite honestly, is find that one thing about your business that everybody loves, that is like a foundation of your business, and how can we leverage that, what's the word I'm looking for? That narrative that your customer base loves already, and we can tie it into Pride Power. So here's a couple of other examples. We have Dogma, who's been partners with us for a long time. It was 100% pay what you can entry into the 9th annual Mutt Show. And so they raised $2,500. I mean, who doesn't love to dress up their dog? I love dressing up my dog. My dog does not like me dressing her up, but I love dressing up my dog. She's actually like over here making noises at me. So if you hear her, she's like, I don't want to dress up. Lit Cosmetics, very well-known cosmetic brand amongst performers in the city. I'm a drag king, fabulous. And so they had 3 different products where 100% of the proceeds from these products sold during Calgary Pride Week went back to Calgary Pride. This is an example of an event. This is the Love is Love Mile. It will be hosted again this year. It was a virtual marathon, which is like my favorite kind because I don't actually like running. And so, but I did sign up. And so for every registration, $1 from that registration went to Calgary Pride. So that's 4,700 people that signed up for a virtual marathon. And I just tracked my stuff on my Fitbit because I did take up walking. So that worked out. Village Brewery. So this is actually, we designed a can for Village Brewery. They've been longtime partners with us. And then we also did this super fun video.
Hey YYC, we've got exciting news coming your way. Calgary Pride has partnered with Village Brewery to release a limited edition Village Squeeze, celebrating the 30 years of Calgary Pride. This German-style brew will be available at your local liquor store within the next coming weeks. Make sure you're following Calgary Pride and Village Brewery for the official launch date. And don't forget, please drink responsibly.
So for every 4-pack that was sold, Calgary Pride received $1. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about businesses supporting businesses. But this ended up being picked up by a bunch of other folks like the Ship and Anchor, where they featured this beer at their venue, knowing that we would receive donations. So we included them as our Pride partners.
Hey YYC.
Whoops. Oh, here we go. Okay. This is one of my favorite stories. Thirsty Kitten Threads is like a local artsy queer artist who made these stickers and was doing these cross-stitch patterns. They started doing it last year. And we got 100% proceeds on these. And I think they were like maybe $2 or $3. But what's really amazing is that they continued donating a percentage of all of their Pride-related products to Calgary Pride through the entire year. And as of today, it raised $2,300 for us, which is just like, oh, it just made my heart smile. As an artist, I appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the process. So step number 1 is going to be the submission form, and you'll all receive this link for the submission form. These are the 2 sort of most important things that we need to have in the submission form. A fundraising goal. So when we ask for a fundraising goal, we're not asking you to commit $5,000. We're asking you to commit to attempting to raise $5,000. We're not here to like wag a finger at you or be like, gosh, you didn't do it. We're just here all trying to do the best we can with what we have. And so we're going to do that best together. And whatever that ends up looking like at the end of the week, yes, the fundraising goal is great because we're a nonprofit, but at the end of the day, we want to be able to create space for our community partners, such as yourself, and our community to connect, to celebrate, and to learn a little bit about each other. However, what I will say in the marketing piece is it is super duper important that we understand what your call to action was. This was a big learning lesson from last year because we had to go back to all of our 70 businesses and really nail out 2 or 3 sentences that very specifically said what it was their initiative did. Some of the other things we're going to ask for is logo and or graphics, your Facebook account, Instagram, Twitter. If you have a Facebook event, making sure that you add us as co-hosts, and media approval. So the media will absolutely be looking for specific stories. And so if you're really excited about talking to the media, let us know. This is what's really important though, is that if you don't have all of these things, no problem. That's what Sumit and Hayden are here for. They're here to help walk through that process with you and support you in getting that together. So don't have a panic attack if you're like, I don't know what queer thing I'm doing. Cool. If you know you want to do the queer thing, just submit the form and we'll work with you. Business description. that helps us again with media stories. And so that when our staff are responding to social media posts or tagging you in social media posts and people are asking us questions, we have a little bit of information to go on. And the initiative description, again, if you're not sure, be like, I have no idea. Cool. We'll circle back around with you and have that conversation. These are some of the other things that you're going to find on the submission form. Accessibility. So is your business, if you're having your business or your initiative in person, is your venue accessible? We're not here to hold you accountable if it is or it is not. We could definitely provide you some resources if you'd like it to be more accessible. However, we do need to know so that we can inform our queer disabled folks and just disabled folks in general so that they can be prepared. Obviously, the basic stuff that we're all going to need to get. It's going to ask you about volunteers. Again, if you don't know, no biggie. We absolutely can provide volunteers if that's something that you would like to support. And it's going to ask you about pride pins. So last year, what we did is we sent out packages of 100 enamel pins. This is the worst photo ever because the enamel pins are adorable and this photo sucks. And it's really, really popular. They're really beautiful enamel pins and they're easy. You sell them, we give you 100 pins and I think all the businesses last year sold out of them, which was great because we have a partnership in getting the pins, so it's almost like entirely revenue for us. Also, I'm a big fan of our logo. I think our logo is hands down the coolest Pride logo in all of Canada. So I talked a little bit about the marketing toolkit. When you come on board as an Our Pride business, we will provide you access to a toolkit on our website. That toolkit will include designs for posters, tabletop cards, all gender washroom signs, t-shirt designs if you want to print t-shirts, pronoun name tags, hashtags, access to press releases. There's also, so as I sort of talked about earlier, so ShowPass, for example, when we talk businesses supporting businesses, ShowPass offers very, very cheap discounted rates for anybody, any of our Pride partners. What's great about that is that when you sign up with ShowPass as an Our Pride partner, we can actually generate a further reach in marketing by leveraging their algorithms. So it helps, the more businesses that sign up, the bigger our reach is, because then your customers are all working together to share what's going on, essentially. Well, their algorithms are. I'm speaking like I know a lot about algorithms. I don't at all. I know in theory, they're like technical zoning pigeons or homing, like owls. It'll have if you have ideas for any of our broadcasting, Sumi will be hosting the Pride Cast, which is like a weekly newscast, which we absolutely love sharing about what's going on with our Pride businesses, what's going on. We talk a little bit about Calgary's gay history, happens every Friday. It's like a 20 to 30 minutes, probably more like 20-minute newscast style program that we share on all of our platforms. And if you're looking for performers, we got a lot of them. We got them all kinds, all forms. So we can definitely help you out there. And the training that we mentioned, Pride Power training. So it is free training that we provide to all of the businesses, and so it's diversity and inclusion training, but it's very specifically curated to provide you all, or all of the business owners, employees, with the tools and knowledge to create inclusive, engaging opportunities for our community, right? It's also an opportunity for you to ask questions. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Some of the things that we're going to talk about, and this is really important. So diversity is our reality, but inclusion is a deliberate action. And I've often said that ally is a verb, not a noun. It is an action word. It is when you are very specifically choosing to take action. And Pride is not the time of year where you just decide to be an ally. Pride is a time of year where you celebrate actions of allyship, whether it's during Pride or through the Pride year. So if you've never done a Pride event or initiative, that's great. This year, you're going to engage in that. You're going to be doing something, and better yet, that's a story you're going to be able to share at other times in the year or next Pride. And that's really what creates authentic engagement and brand alignment with the community as a whole. We'll talk about inclusive product design, inclusive service standards. We'll talk about what that allyship in action looks like and give you some examples. So this is a really good one. UNO came out with their Pride deck, but not only that, they very specifically said, like, this is what we are doing with some of the money we're earning to support queer folks. Why? Because rainbow washing. So if you've never heard about rainbow washing, all of these things are things we'll dig into a little bit more. Essentially, people realized that in some parts of the world, such as here in Canada, we are now like a marketable demographic. We're like bobbleheads. People want to collect us. And so our consumer base spends $3.7 trillion annually. And your business owners, you understand what it is to identify opportunity. The trick with rainbow washing, though, is understanding how to engage that community authentically. So we will dig into what rainbow washing looks like. And here's a really good example. So Lego, you may or may not have seen, Lego came out with this diversity set. Now, I love Legos. Like, I literally had a Lego city. I love Lego. I've always loved Lego. So when this came out, I was like, oh my God, so cool. It was all over my LinkedIn. I follow a lot of queer folks, a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion folks. And I started clicking on the news articles, and I couldn't find anything about what they did other than the product they were selling being rainbow. And at one point, I could see on more than one LinkedIn post, queer folks getting really angry because nobody was answering the question, is some of this money that you're making on this supporting community? Nobody was responding. And I got my knickers twisted. I was like, come on, Lego, get with the program here. I love diversity in play, big kids, little kids, but what are we actually doing? Lo and behold, after doing some digging, see, he forgot something. They started sending out press releases saying, we support this organization. This is what we do with our employees. This is where money is going. This is what should have been there from the very beginning, because now they've had to go back and have those conversations all over again. And it just got missed. So a part of our role in working with you is making sure that we are setting you up for success and that we're giving you the tools that y'all need. We talk about unconscious customer bias. I know that Be Local has hosted some classes on anti-racism and what unconscious bias might look like. And so we talk about it more from like a gender identity, gender expression perspective. Unconscious bias is really what most marginalized and vulnerable communities are struggling with when facing systemic inequity. Why? Because being able to see your unconscious bias and purposefully act in a manner that celebrates the diversity of our cultural fabric is what creates community. It creates community with your customers. It creates community with your employees. It creates community with allies and not just queer folks. As I mentioned, we want to make sure that when we're doing the diversity and inclusion training, we're making it what we call a braver space. And so all participating businesses will be sent an anonymous survey where you can ask any question you want at all. There are no stupid questions. And what that's going to allow us to do is ensure that as we are tailoring our training for you, that we're answering those questions and that we're ensuring that we're providing additional resources. And now, if you have questions about our Pride, we're here to answer them.